don't know what to say. I'm just frozen. But anyway, today I needed to update my supplies and get some new lining tools. And so for this collection I'm working on right now, it's called Bonnie Fleur. It's kind of an homage to the Scottish Highland cow and the Scottish natural flora. And so it's a botanical piece, but also incorporating the Highland cow. Well, pieces. It's a botanical collection. So let me show you what I purchased today. And I haven't used these ones specifically before, or if I have, it's been a very, very long time. And this is the Faber Castel. Can you see that? It's kind of shiny on here. Maybe you can see it well. But the dual markers, I really just needed the fine tip. So let's pop these guys open. See, there you go. Can you see that? You should be able to see that. The fine tip on the one end is what I was aiming for. I wasn't going for a dual marker, but that's okay. I'm sure I can use it in other areas of creating artwork as well. So let's pull these guys out. And I really do love Faber Castel. They produce great high-end quality products for professional artists. I try to avoid studio or student grade if at all possible, because I know that the longevity of a piece of artwork that you create greatly is diminished if you use any less quality. So let me switch this over and you'll get a peek at it too. But before I do, how about we take a look at these? I'm like looking at the wrong end, but that's okay. I use these guys all the time too. The Pigma micron markers also. And I was quite pleased to find that I could get it in gray tones. I often work in a sepia tone and a black, not so much a black, because black is quite contrasty and heavy. Sometimes that works really well, but I prefer the sepia tone when I'm not looking for such harshness. And then the reason that I needed gray tones with this, because I want even something more delicate. The way I draw, I've been told by many people, art professors and everything, I have a very painterly way that I draw. And it's like the edges just seem to disappear into highlights or into a bright background or something like that. I always have to play around and test with every single art supply that I buy. Both to satisfy my need for entertainment and also to understand the qualities of the product and to figure out what their limits are and what they're capable of. So let's try them out. I have a feeling that this gray one here will be the one I use the most, so that is a pretty big tip. It's okay. I'm not even gonna draw on the notebook itself. Don't know how much this will bleed through or anything like that, so let's just give this a try. Not bad. Has some spread to it, but always test on the medium that you're going to do the artwork on. Test to see how much it absorbs, if there's any absorption rate at all, to give you an idea of how it's going to react. So let's try the end that I'm most curious about. Okay, that's a decent sized tip, even a little finer. I would have been quite pleased with, actually, but let's see. I can draw on here too. Yeah, I can handle that thickness. It'll do thin enough work for what I need it to do. But yeah, always test your products. Make sure that it can do what you want it to do before you mess up a whole lovely piece. And this is Bristol. I often work in like a mixed media or a Bristol. I love working in watercolor. The Arches cold press, and I know I'm saying it wrong, but I'm aware of it, and that's okay. I love the Arches paper, the blocks especially, that you peel up when you're done working. But that texture of the paper just does not jive well at times with how smooth I like to work. It's the Strathmore Bristol. This is decent quality. So let's check out the others. So I'm sure the rest of these will perform exactly the same way, but I can give you a quick preview. That's nice. That's decent. Lovely, lovely. I have tons of black markers, but I can always use one more. Oh yeah, that's great. Actually, this one really caught my eye. What color are they calling it? Hyacinth. Oh, I just love hyacinth flowers. So let's just take a peek. Very subtle, but I can totally see me using that. I love that. Okay, let's try this other end here. That's great. I love that. So let's break these pens out. Here's the package insert for these guys. Marks all the ends. Again, I have tons of these black ones, but I could always use another. Just set that aside. And let's take a look at this one. This gray one that I would most likely be using. And always be careful when you're opening a marker anywhere near artwork that's completed, because sometimes these are a little full with the ink in them and it can spray everywhere. I've done it. So just take heed whenever opening these guys so you don't fling potential excess ink anywhere. That's nice. Definitely useful, especially as far as this project goes. And the lighter one. Nice and light, and that's perfect for making the lines kind of fade into a highlight or something. That will work very, very well. So between all the markers that I purchased today, I am satisfied with my ability to work on this piece and achieve the effects that I want to with my line work. So this flower here is a lighter flower, so I'm going to line the petals with an even lighter gray than what I had showed you. The whole point of this is to line everything and then proceed by cleaning it up and erasing all of the pencil so that I can further define my lines in my characteristic style. But some of those lines, I do not want them to be so pronounced. Now that I've made some substantial progress, I figured it was a good time to show you where I am and what I'm working on. And the cow and the milk thistle are pretty much finished in my signature style, the thin and thick. And I know it's very contrasty right now, and it's kind of hard to see that this is still a gray and this is an even lighter gray on the petals and things here. These ones aren't finished. This will look even lighter whenever I have other colors on here and hues and tones to contrast with this. But so it probably looks quite dark to you, but aim is to avoid childlike artwork. Special care is needed to be taken, at least I feel, when doing certain subject matter to avoid a cartoony look. And animals and people, just certain things are very specific that I feel you have to take necessary steps, or I have to take necessary steps, extra steps to avoid them looking too cartoony. And these flowers here have very light colored petals. They're basically white, and I want to maintain that look, but they still need to be lined. So I'm using this very light gray marker, and I'm just going to come in and define some of the edges where shadow would naturally make them darker and give the lines my signature thin and thick look. Super pleased with it. All the elements came together. I don't want to say exactly as I planned, but they came together exactly how they felt they should come together. It's a feeling. Like, I felt this, and then it materializes in a way that, you know, sometimes surprises me too, but it feels right. I think I can more accurately call this an illustrative series. There's the second piece done, and something that I love about these different tones and markers is that, like, for something lighter and wispier, like the top of this milk thistle, granted there's no color yet, but you can indicate it's more delicate by using, you know, a lighter marker. And then this is a matter of stacking the colors or the application on top of itself, and I'll give you an example. But also you can indicate lighter, more wispy, a little bit more delicate in like the flower centers and things by the application, along with the delicate petal veins. And then for something like landscapes, I don't do landscapes, but for those that do, you could, you know, very easily indicate distance with these. Like this one here would be your furthest distance object in your piece, and then this would probably be like a mid-ground piece, and then perhaps maybe your blacks as your foreground lining. Really great ways to indicate depth. Very versatile. What I mean by stacking is, like, this is the first layer here, like you see these lines here. That's the first application. So if you go back in and draw over top, that's like a stacking effect, and will increase the darkness of that gray layer. And with what I'm doing, it's crucial to like go back over that line exactly, and then just kind of give it a little bit of flair as I get to like a shadow point, or a point where I need a bit more boldness, a bit more contrast, and then I can do the same with that center right there too. So let me just grab that other marker. So I want the center of this flower to still be delicate, but it has depth. So I can build that depth by going over certain areas where it would naturally have more depth. This is not from a photograph, but if you're working from a photograph, you will very easily see where that depth needs to be applied. And since this is from my head, I can imagine where that depth would be, which is super fun. This is where the creative process kicks in, and you get to decide what the reality of that flower is. With certain subject matter, the parameters are subject to change depending on how delicate the subject is. For example, my angels series that I did, and other ones that are kind of delicate like that. I have fairies and things like that, and they're more of my private art, but I do alter my line work with those specifically, but then other characteristics of my drawing style come out more, because those things I am less inclined to line with something like these pens. I'm more privy to using, let me see if I have it here. Yes, I love my Mr. Pen pencil. I tend to do more pencil work for such things. I'm trying to think, my St. Nicholas series that I did of the old world Christmas traditional Santa Clauses. I believe those were all pencil lining, and so again, depending on the subject, I may change my type of lining as far as if it's lined in pen or not. I like to do the lined pen look. It works very well for a lot of products that I'm aiming for. But there are instances where the rules change, and I have guidelines for when the rules change so that I stay consistent on the feeling and really the expression that I'm aiming for, still within the boundaries of it being a dawn piece. And with that, I think that's a wrap. I think this was a great little episode.